Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
All right. Well, you tuned
Back
in
again.
to the CMS. I did not, but where are you at?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, Evil Keneally goes out of his way to ensure that the Classic Metal Wrap-Up Show follows, in the loose vision that my older brother Wendell formed about 20 years ago. And so I had to venture all the way down here to the sunny state of Florida. I'm on Bob Leather's patio right now, broadcasting with you, and I've been down here prepping his segment, which we will debut in just a few minutes after we have some CMS talk.
Yeah, so you tuned in last night, so I'm sure it was thrilling.
I did. So, ladies and gentlemen, the time just flies by, and you tune in at 1800 hours on the West Coast. I believe that would be 2100 hours on the East Coast for those of you that use the military time, or 6 p.m. or 9 p.m., somewhere in between if you're in the mountain or central time zones. And you sit there for 30 minutes waiting for a show to start. And there's no show starting. And then finally, when they come bumbling back on the air, Aiken claims it was a computer malfunction.
It's every week.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Aiken IT guy has once again not figured out how to get online, apparently, to run the show. So, and then he goes on to say right from the get-go that it's not a computer problem. He has a $5,000 computer. And so it's not a computer problem, but somehow or another, the internet gremlins get in his machine and just shut it down. So some of us can be over here on a $999 laptop or something, and it works fine. But you got a $5,000 computer and can't get online to do anything. Yeah. I don't know how this operates, but it is a week in and week out problem that either Aiken IT. Yes, I'm starting to make you wonder if maybe he just wants to shave off some time on the show, and this would be a convenient excuse to come on a half hour to an hour late, thereby basically nixing an entire segment. Because as I'm going to tell you with this show, now, open honesty always comes from Evil Keneally. I believe, let me see here in my notes, the third segment I fell asleep.
Oh, for real?
Oh, geez. I believe there was only 4 segments to my counting, but I did fall asleep for about, I think 15 or 20 minutes in there on the couch because it was so boring, which we'll get into. And so what used to be a 5 or 6 segment show has whittled it down to 4 long segments, 3 or 4 major song breaks. And so... Aiken IT guy, should I just ask the question? Are you watching the wrap-up show? Seems like you're taking notes from us here. You're sliding the show into a shorter format, which we've suggested before. And as I'll point out later, there's some other features here that he's going to mention. I think, I don't know if it's subliminal messages or if he's actually watching the show and just taking notes. And just,
yeah.
Or maybe someone's slipping him messages saying that this is what they're saying and it's sinking into the brain. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so right from the get-go, Aiken IT guy strikes again, 30 minutes of dead air before you even get to the show. When the show starts, he talks about how he's trying to be active Aiken nowadays. He's trying to get out of the house, move around. He openly said, less DoorDash with the sheets, less Walmart grocery delivery, gonna go to the store. I think again, he's been listening to the wrap-up show and hearing Evil's tips to physical fitness and health, which can just start by basic activities that everyone should go do on their feet, which is walking through a grocery store. But his bad week kind of while he was out trying to be active, Aiken, the motor vehicle had a problem. And the brake pad broke on the back of the vehicle. So he's he's kind of down on a vehicle right now and
Oh,
pending
geez.
some repairs with the neighbor's going to come over and fix the brakes for him, which sounds like an Ohio thing to do. You'd have the neighbor come over and put it on some jacks in the driveway and fix the brakes, which maybe is an easy job. I don't know the car or the vehicle. I have personally changed brakes before, although I don't choose to do that myself. Prefer to go to a dealership or something. But so active Aiken, trying to get active, got undercut by a broken car. And of course, Neely was, he probably would have just jumped in there and fixed the brakes right then because he's repairman Neely, right? He knows everything about automotives. But so that was the second. Then they got into the, well, this is interesting. So Aiken made some comments about how when he goes out in public, he gets looks from people. People are checking, the long hair, the this, that.
Ashy skin.
400 pounds of weight.
Right.
Like the size of the aisle at the grocery store.
Right.
These might be reasons why you're getting looks, Aiken. Right. I don't think it's just the long hair. I think it's a whole thing that's going on
package.
There. Yeah, and then let me make sure I get this. I want to make sure I have notes, ladies and gentlemen. I can't see, the camera likes to blur that stuff out. But I have notes, ladies and gentlemen. So he said, Neely jumps in and says he also gets the looks. Maybe because you have a mullet and you look like you're in 1985.
Yeah, but did he then twist it and say he got looks because chicks were checking him out or something?
I think he was trying to indicate more that the pizzazzed hair, the long hair, the style that he dresses as,
he looks like a celebrity.
Rucker. He's trying to make himself look like Dog the Bounty Hunter meets Don Dokken, and he's getting the looks as he feels when he goes out in public. And then, which again kind of goes back to the egocentric, narcissistic personality disorder that we think that we have diagnosed him with. But he needs the looks in order for people to, and then he bragged about his tipping ability. He said he goes into the restaurants and he always gets the good service no matter where he goes because he's always a big tipper. He makes sure that service gets tipped properly, which means that when he comes back, he expects to be served in a timely, orderly fashion, and he gets it because of the way he tips people. So he's got a whole system worked out in his head here.
He does that with the escort.
I didn't jump in the chat room and say that, but I was watching the chat room, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, there was a couple of actual ways I could think that this applies into his daily life, but those voices cannot be heard. We have been silenced by the censorship of the CMS. Right. So, but he did mention, which I thought was an interesting, because again, Evil as his brother is always kind of noticing these, what is it? The yins and yangs, the dark and the light, the to and fro of my brother Wendell. Apparently, he does he likes carnitas tacos at Mexican restaurants. I'm still wondering, does he go in there and say, "Get the Mexican flag out of here and back across the border"?
He doesn't do that. I mean, it's just kind of like he had that gripe. Shtick. What was it, like a couple of weeks back where he was griping about them people waving the flag, and it's like, well, if it bothers you that much, go say something. But he's not going to do that.
No, it's just talk. It just made me laugh thinking of him eating carnitas tacos in a Mexican restaurant for a guy who lacks culture and wants none of it, so he claims. And then he said that, now this is a mental note for Evil and those of us in the CMS world. If he keeps not taking my calls and ignoring my emails and, denying his lineage to his younger brother, he has admitted he goes every Sunday for the Quaker Steak and Lube. So I know where to find Brother Wendell on Sundays. So maybe I go to the, Arcada Theater at some point in time. And if he fails to show up, I end up on the Quaker Steak and Lube on that Sunday afternoon. I think he's going to come venturing in, and I will buy him a bloomin' onion, ladies and gentlemen. We will cut it up. A couple of Neelys.
Yeah.
So he admits that he's tipping the staff at the Quaker Steak and Lube every Sunday for his steaks. They got in some cap talk regarding a movie they watched, a horror movie. Again, I tune out as soon as we start talking about horror movies from back in the day that I'm no longer interested in. They did put a picture up of Ferentinos. Apparently, Ferentinos has adorned a wig. Much like myself, he's decided to don the bald cap with the wig. And
so, you should just shave that faux hawk off.
apparently while he's the Dracula character, he's now donning
boy.
some kind of a Bert looking type of Ernie looking wig on his head. But then Neely got into some talk because they were talking about movies with famous people and how some movies you don't really catch on because they're not a big hit, but you look at the credits and realize there's a lot of stars in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then Neely goes down this memory lane about a movie which we've all heard of, but I believe came out in the early 80s. It's called The Outsiders.
Oh, yeah.
Remember this movie?
Yeah.
And he acts like this is something he needs to retell all of us, that we're not aware that, all the Emilio Estevez and Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze, all these guys were in this movie. Yes, Neely, we know that. That's why the movie's famous, because of all the actors that it spawned that were later in big. So he goes down this thing, though, like telling it like we haven't heard of The Outsiders, or we didn't know that all these people. Like, what are you talking about? So once again, going down Neely's TV viewership habits, he's at home, feet up, watching The Outsiders. Ruben, if you're wondering what he's doing. And then they got into some tech talk, again, talking about the money they spend on the computers and the infrastructure to keep the show going, and all these things are going to, Aiken's always working on the, I guess, the system that operates the CMS live show, which always fails. Either way, it sounded like a lot of mental, verbal, ego stroking, masturbatory sessions on a podcast, talking about how much they've invested to give you the CMS. So we are happy to tell you at the wrap-up show we have spent hardly nil, and we're here every week doing the same thing in a far shorter amount of time with better content, in my opinion, more music related, that's for sure. And we don't need to have $5,000 computers and $10,000 studios. But here we go. That's segment number one. That was your first segment. They came out the gate blazing with those topics. It went about 45 minutes, and then Aiken was ready to call it a wrap. We're just going to power through this because there's not a lot to really get to. And there's not much. You're just going to be like, yeah, well, whatever. So segment two, all that segment two was, and this is where the chat room, I noticed, for those of you out there, Shelly Rocks, Jackal, you guys were complaining in that chat room on my television screen that they would not get to music. They just kept talking news and politics and social commentary. Well, this is what we've been saying on the wrap-up show since we started the wrap-up show. Why you hate us, I don't even understand. We're giving you what you want. They're giving you the shit you don't want, and you're sucking up to them and then telling us that we're bags of ass for doing what you're saying should be done, which is talking about music. So we're going to power through this. But this whole second segment is basically about Newsom in California, new internet regulatory laws. They're coming after the CMS and to get the CMS off the internet, according to Aiken. More racial talk. They got into... Neely starts always interjecting things about the black young men culture in society is out of control. I don't know. Whatever he's talking about. Boomer talk is what it sounds like to me. I start tuning out. Then this always bothers me. It's like a simple Google search would have answered this one. They went on this talking about Stephen Piercy. They were saying all these people have fled Los Angeles and fled Vegas and gone to different places to avoid the subcultures that are ruining these places and blah, 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 blah. And then they said, Sepp moved to extreme Northern California to get away from it. Ladies and gentlemen, Paso Robles, California is not extreme north. It's not even considered Northern California at all.
Right.
It's a couple hours north of SoCal. You would consider it Central California if you were going to label it properly. But it's not even far enough up the valleys to be past Fresno and all that other shit. So it's down in there still. So they just can't even look at a map, understand geography. Clearly, maybe have never been to these places. So they just throw darts at a board thinking, just labeling everything. Paso Robles, California is only a few hours north of LA, a few hours south of Sacramento, Central California. It's not in Northern California. It's definitely not extreme north, as they can try to make it sound like Sepp had wandered off into the mountains of fucking the state line. That's not
Mount
true.
Shasta.
Paso Robles is what used to be a farming community by the coast that has now blossomed into condos and houses because people in SoCal can't afford SoCal, and you can get some beautiful property 45 minutes from the ocean right there in Paso Robles. There's breweries, restaurants. My band has played there half a dozen times. That's why Sep's there. Sep's band's played there. A lot of bands play there. There's a lot of places to play. Point is, not Northern California. Google it, look at a map. It just bothers me when you get to these. I mean, if I brought up something about Ohio, I would say what city it was in and then leave it at that and not go, it's an extreme northeast Ohio when it's down by Cincinnati. I would not do that. That's stupid. It makes you look like a fucking fool. So anyways, Google search, boys. Come on. Not way north in California, as they kept calling it. YouTube talk. They're worried about YouTube reinstating the channels from COVID, man, and they lost all their videos when they're not going to get reinstated, or will they get reinstated? Either way, you guys never cared about YouTube. You shit all over it from the get-go, even though it's the number one video platform in the world. So
you remember what they refer to it as?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead and say it.
Yeah, fuck tube. They're like, fuck tube.
There you go.
Tube this.
Yes.
And so they hate it, but they want to be on it. I don't get it.
And honestly, I don't know what censorship. Now, maybe their videos do get a few thousand clicks. Ours are only getting a few hundred clicks. But so far, YouTube has not sent me one thing other than one warning regarding some copyrighted stuff that we played over the show, but they didn't take it down. They just put a notice on there saying there was some copyrighted music in this video. Who cares? So far, they haven't said anything about us cursing. Now, I label all the videos for adults, not for kids, and make sure it's labeled appropriately and where it should be. And maybe that limits our views as well, but so be it. It keeps us from getting removed or getting strikes. But so far, I've had no messages or comments from YouTube regarding censoring us or strikes or tanking down things. We're going to test that today, ladies and gentlemen, with Bob Leather, but we'll get to that later. But he seems to be worried about, this censorship and whether that maybe some of the, I guess apparently there'll be $1 million fines for some of these things if Newsom doesn't like, or the California laws don't like the content being distributed by the social media outlets. They're threatening $1 million fine to get them to take stuff down, which we all know is just pure censorship. This is the Democratic Party and Gavin Newsom. And I'm not saying all Democrats. There's plenty of Democrats in other states that are totally fine. But in California, in San Francisco, let's say, I'm very familiar with this subject and these people. They're not Democrats. They're borderline commies. They're socialists sliding into communism. That's the way they want it to be. So the problem is, I'm with Neely. I don't see how they're going to institute that across state lines. Who's in California going to go to Texas, and the YouTube's based out of Texas, if that's where they move to, and then say, you can't put that on the internet. That's the best that California is going to do is interject some kind of Chi-Com censorship grid where you can't get into certain websites from California or something. That's what I can imagine happening. But that's, again, most of you need to get the fuck out. That's why I left California. It's why most of us do leave California. It's not what it once was 30 years ago. So that was it. That was segment 2. All tech talk, censorship talk, coming after them. They mentioned a little bit about John Schaefer and Iced Earth and his claims about getting lucrative offers to play gigs, and how Aiken doesn't believe that that's true at all, and that's just a bunch of horse shit. I don't even know. I'm not a huge Ice Earth fan, so I don't.
I think.
I've heard a few stuff here and there, but I'm assuming. I'm thinking internationally. I'm sure some of the chat members said this too. I think internationally, you could probably get some solid offers. Maybe Aiken was underplaying or just doesn't. I think he still holds a grudge. I
think Schaefer could get back on the whole European festival thing.
My thing with Schaefer is this, and even with the pardon, how does this all play out? You have a criminal record now, bro, and I believe some of those are felonies. And last time I checked, just suggesting this, visas are hard to come by into certain countries, even for work or visit, because of the criminal history. As a lot of people can't. Remember, old Phil Rudd can't seem to get any work in the American states due to his methamphetamine attempted murder problems back in New Zealand, right? So these things happen. You know?
I don't. Well, we know Schaefer couldn't enter Canada unless he connects with your buddy Frenchie.
Gotcha.
He might be able to
and that's
pull some strings.
So Anyways, they brought that up, doubting the lucrative offers. But anyways, that was segment 2, so we'll zap through that. Segment 3, this is the one where I fell asleep because I have zero interest in these subjects, and you're probably going to have zero. I don't think, again, this is where the chat room was really like, can we get back to music talk? This has nothing to do with why we're here, which is classic metal show. So they started with this is the paid segment, by the way. You're going to pay for this.
Oh, the paid ones are always the greatest topics.
Yeah, they started with Cardi B has a Brazilian butt lift that's stinky, and apparently her ex is saying that her ass stinks. And then they started getting this conversation that if women have the Brazilian butt lift butt jobs, does that make their assholes and asses stink? Which I don't know. I never had a woman with the Brazilian butt job. I can tell you that Bob Leather might be able to eventually chime in on the subject in the future, because I think he has a better idea regarding asses and Brazilian butt jobs. Right up his alley, it seems like. But so that was a whole conversation, showing the picture, talking about this, that, and the other. Neely saying he's never seen a woman, or how people can find a woman with an ass like that attractive. I don't know what he's talking about. To be quite frank with you, the gigantic booty's right up evil's alley. I just don't like it surgically done.
I think he meant black.
I think that's his secret. Yeah,
right.
And then he went into a news story about blackface high schoolers news story. Again, it was some high schoolers wearing black. He likes to talk about blackface. I know, whenever he gets a chance of anyone throwing the blackface on that's white, Neely's in the conversation talking about how they should be allowed to do this, or what. I don't know what they're thinking. But again, it was so boring. I was dozing off, man. I just couldn't stay awake. It's 10:30 at night, and you guys are going on and on and on about news and social commentary. It has nothing to do with what I'm interested in. And so I started tuning out. Now I woke back up. There was some other news story he was on when I had fallen asleep that he was still on when I woke up. So I don't think I missed much. And they went to a big segment after that. So all you got on the paid segment was a bunch of social commentary, political commentary, racial commentary. Not CMS. Okay, last one. We'll power through this. Segment 4, the final one, the one that actually had music talk, which we can get into just a little bit, because there was some takes there that I thought were interesting, and one of them in particular I just don't agree with, but that's just a personal taste. The first thing they talked about for segment 4, they came out with the Motley Crue box set for Theater of Pain.
Oh yeah,
talking about the double disc live show that's coming with it, the demo versions, which a lot of us have already heard that'll be in there, and I completely agree with them that kind of a money grab. Do we really need this? This is obviously just for the Tim James, the hardcore Crue collectors of the world.
I think the one for guys that know music, the music business, like they claim, this has nothing to do with Motley. It's they sold that shit off, so it's the owners now trying to recoup some of that money.
So where I differ from him is he went on to say that he thinks Theater Pain is better than Girls, Girls, Girls. He claims that he would take Theater Pain and this box set over a Girls, Girls, Girls box set any day of the week, because Girls, Girls, Girls is empty songs, blah, 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 is filler, this, that, and the other. I'm completely opposite. I don't agree with that. Theater of Pain has Smokin' in the Boys Room, which is a cover, and Home Sweet Home, which is a piano ballad.
Right.
And name me another song on that album that kicks ass.
Oh shit, what is that? Let me look. There is.
Whereas I will say, for Girls, 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 in my opinion, right out the gate, you got Wild Side, you got Girls, Girls, Girls. You got Dancing on Glass, which I think is not a bad song. It's a cool song. Then later in the album, you've got You're All I Need is a ballad, which I would prefer over Home Sweet Home myself. And then they have All in the Name of Rock. So there's 5 songs on Girls, Girls, Girls. I'm not going to skip through.
But that Elvis cover is fucking horrible.
That is garbage. And that was I don't really like Smoking in the Boys Room. I don't like their their covers almost ever.
No. Okay, so off Theater, I'd say I'd also throw in there Keep Your Eye on the Money. I like that one for some reason.
That one's okay. Yeah,
that one's okay. I mean, it's not it's not a complete throwaway. And
is Bad Boy Boogie on Girls or Theater?
Yeah. No, it's on
Girls.
girls. I'd say
Okay.
louder isn't louder than hell on there on
I
theater.
think that is the other
So
one on
those are
theater
the
that I would
there's
say, yeah,
four.
those are the
I mean,
best songs. Yeah.
maybe.
So it's kind of a toss up. But my point
Yeah.
is, would I say, oh, I don't want, but honestly, when I go through my collection, I kind of find myself not listening to Theater Pain
Right.
as I don't, girls, I don't really listen to them that much either, to be frank with you. But I would just say, I think I've gone to it a few more times than I have over the last 10 years than I have Theater Pain.
Yeah.
So pretty much at this point, first two albums and then Feel Good is where I'm pretty much at this point with Crew. And that's, so, but anyway, so that was their whole talk there regarding that. At least it was music related. At least it was Crew related. At least there was some talk there.
But what did Shelley Rocks think? Did you? She's an idiot.
Who? Moo cow. Then they talked about how Rob Halford got married to his lover.
Oh boy.
After many, many years. I believe those guys been together for 10 or 20 years or something. But yeah, so he got married to his gay lover, and they wondered why. Why would Rob do that at his age with his estate and his money? And then they surmised maybe that's why, because Rob's getting up there and wants to leave his stuff to somebody. And obviously Thomas, his lover, would probably be the one I would think he would leave his stuff to. But I think Rob Halford does have nieces and family and other stuff. So I would imagine. But anyways, the point is, I don't, again, no offense to Rob or anything. Who cares? Rob can get married to whoever he wants, whenever he wants, at 75 or 35. Like, I don't think I think I could be wrong. I'm not in Rob's shoes, so I don't know what it was like in 83 or 85, but I don't really think as many people cared as much as he thinks in his own mind cared. I think that we understood with some of those lyrical contents and the way you were dressing on stage, bro, there's a pretty good chance you were not batting for the same team I was, but did I care or anyone else care? Hell no. As long as you were screaming for vengeance, we're all good. Get to it, buddy. So why everyone cares about Rob's, who cares? This is all... Maybe in 99 or 97 or whatever he came out, that was the breaking news. But since then, are we surprised that he has a lover, that he's homosexual, that he's getting married? No, this is 2025. This is happening in most states in America. There's a few out there where they can't do it, but most states, they can get a union or some kind of marriage license to be a married couple. Fine, enjoy. And then they covered, because of Rob, and they went into Priest doing War Pigs with the Ozzy. And they were trying to figure out, is this new Ozzy vocals or old canned Ozzy vocals? And claims that this was being done a week or two before Ozzy's death. And questioning whether Glenn Tipton was really playing or involved or not. Let Evil just set this straight, gentlemen. I think Glenn Tipton and Ozzy Osbourne didn't play shit on this.
No.
I think the vocals are canned from some other session.
Yeah.
I think Glenn in his wheelchair and Ozzy in his wheelchair a week before Ozzy's death are not sliding in the studio to start banging out War Pigs. I'm just going to take a guess. Yeah. I'm going to guess that Richie Faulkner and what's the other guy's name that does the producing?
Andy Sneap.
Andy Sneap is probably playing guitar on this here track. And the vocals are definitely Ozzy, but they're pre-recorded vocals that he did for a War Pigs at some point in time. I'm sure Sharon could have pulled them out of a vault from some cover he was doing or whatever. So it's not good in my opinion. I'm not listening to it, but who cares? They're doing it for a charity thing for Glenn Tipton's Parkinson's Foundation, which is, and that's cool if that's what they want to do it for. I'm kind of with Aiken and Neely, how much money can they really draw from a digital release?
It's not going to make much. But don't you get the feeling, though, with the Ozzy, it could have been some isolated vocal off a live performance from, like, before he fell ill. I mean,
or back when he was doing all those covers where he would sing with Primus and all these other bands and do the Sabbath covers with them doing the music and him doing the vocals. He probably cut a bunch of extra vocal tracks and they were sitting around and she said, here, use these ones, Rob.
Right.
And with Pro Tools and an email and a little tune-up in the studio by Andy Sneap, I'm sure they can make this work. That's what it sounds like to me. Sure. I mean, I'm not in the room with them, but it doesn't sound... they were actually... Some people were in the chat were questioning whether it was AI generated. I don't think it's AI. I just think it's Pro Tools cut up, fixed, auto-tune shit. Right. Yeah, so that's the way music sounds nowadays. And so, but suggestion there, Rob, Ian, Judas Priest people, if you want to raise money for the Glenn Tipton, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, whatever foundations you got going on, get some signed merch in your merch booth. get a band member out there taking photos and signing the stuff just directly, and all these proceeds go to that. That'll generate way more revenue than a digital song ever is going to generate. So if you're serious about it, there's ways to come up with income that would help these causes, much quicker and faster and larger sums of money. I'd be much more, even even putting Scott Travis out there, I'd probably be rather stand in line to meet Scott Travis to get something signed, a photograph, and have my percentage of my donation go to whatever. And then they got onto what we talked about before, Youngblood and Aerosmith, not understanding why Youngblood and where this momentum is coming from with this young man which I feel is coming from some management agency across the pond, trying to get him into every nook and cranny of American society that they can, whether that's old rock, new rock, classic rock. He'll probably be in a rapper's video here shortly. And to cross-pollinate and find a way to get this guy over. And they were, I just keep questioning the same thing over. Who's the management?
Aren't you waiting for him to do a collaboration with Taylor Swift?
That seems like it would be logical.
Yeah.
Although I would not, again, put it out there that he would do a collaboration with whoever is the biggest indie hip hop guy, rap guy right now. Would you be surprised if he showed up in a video with one of them singing a verse and jumping in on the chorus with some auto tune? Not surprised. So, and then they played some of his original music, I believe, too, outside the Aerosmith, and him playing on some late night show. Maybe it was Kimmel or I don't know, some show. And again, I'm kind of with Aiken. The guy's got a decent voice, but it feels like the songwriting and the songs themselves are kind of lackluster and lacking sometimes. He does his best when he's singing someone else's song. So what is he bringing to the table himself?
From Plush.
Well, and what I'm trying to say is, in the modern age, that's not that hard to do. I mean, I have a band myself where probably 50% of our set is cover songs that we play very well. People go, damn, you play the hell out of way, almost better than the original. Well, appreciate that. But that's because, it's not hard to do if you know what you're doing. And if you play it live 100,000 times, then you get pretty good at it. Now we're more of a jam band, so we have a tendency to go from original to cover to original to cover, and sometimes not stop, and who knows what we're going to do. And then sometimes some of it's unscripted. But my point is, we have at least 6 to 8 originals that some people like to hear. And I'm thinking Youngblood or Mariah need 6 to 8 good originals that people want to hear. Then you add a couple of covers in at the end of the show or whatever. Right now, I feel like I'm struggling to hear 1 or 2 good originals from these artists. Everything they're doing that I enjoy is someone else's material. So that's your whole CMS, bro. I mean, if that was 5 hours of enjoyment, because they shaved a half hour off at the beginning, and my guess is they kind of wrapped it up with one long segment at the end again. So didn't even try to get near 6 like they used to, and probably for the better. But Neely was already in the chat room going 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. The show's on. Wow. So we'll try to hang in there, ladies and gentlemen. As my co-host knows, next weekend yours truly will be with Steel Piston at a small music festival, so unable to hear the CMS when I'm on stage at 7:30 at night playing somewhere. But my co-host here will probably take some notes for us, and then the weekend after, I'll be back listening, and he'll be going on to a show or two. So I think he's bringing some things up here for you guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a couple things we can hit on, but you remember this Ghost?
Yes,
the Ghost. They're copying the Rammstein thing where they did dildos, I guess. Yeah. It kind of fitting considering you have Bob Leather. But yeah, so it's a Rockabilia exclusive. You can get your own
Ghost glow-in-the-dark dildo. Only 666 available. Tobias's favorite number there. Yeah. And but he's not satanic.
He's not.
He's not Luciferian. He's not believing in Baphomet. But he most certainly likes to straddle that line all the way down. Pretend like he's not.
How much more do you think they could keep going? I mean, they did get big. I mean, they're up to arenas and doing amphitheaters and stuff. But do you think this is going to pop off here and
let me prep well off? He went to Mexico and he got Montezuma's revenge.
Right. He got the shits, right?
He got the shits and didn't make a show.
Right.
So, lesson number 1 to Mr. Forge: when you go to Mexico, be selective in what you eat and drink. Even on the travels getting into where you're going, you might think some things are safe and probably not. Only bottled water when you're south of the border in Evil's experience, because someone who's been in Puerto Vallarta hugging a toilet before myself. Yeah. I guess if he had to just get it like an hour or two before he went on stage, because I'm not trying to brag here, people, but I think my 3rd show when I was 18 years old, I had the flu. I mean, and I don't mean like a little flu. I mean like 100-something degree fever, sweating delirious in the little backstage area by my amp. And the guy said, "Are you sure you can do this?" And I said, "You put a Rubbermaid garbage can right on the side of the stage right there,
Right.
and I'm going to play this motherfucker. And then if I got to, I'll just run over and barf in this motherfucker and then run back on for the next song and keep playing." The funny part of this story is that people in the crowd thought it was part of the show. So the next show they said, "Are you going to barf again?" No, I was only barfing because I was legitimately sick. This wasn't some kind of green jelly or whatever stunt here. This was a legitimate situation. But so what I'm saying is he had to be coming down pretty hard to find no way to get on stage and sing, even with some food poisoning. Now, I have had bad food poisoning, but in my experience, usually the first hour or so of vomiting it out, then you're tired, you don't feel good, might have some shits afterward, but usually the throw up gets the situation out of the system and you move on. I don't know what he was doing out there. I did read that he did finish the other 2 shows that were in Mexico. He did pull those off, so it wasn't too bad. But yes, Mr. Forge, maybe less glow-in-the-dark dildos, more concentration on some cases of bottled water, and have your handlers prepare your food rather than going to a food truck or some other situation you might have had down there. So,
well, the other thing, let me see if I can find it, because there was that other thing that happened in Portland.
Yes,
and then I'll share a couple things from the Portland thing, and then we'll talk Bob Leather, I guess.
Raise your horns high, let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the light